The long-awaited return of Doctor Who is finally here, as well as the return of David Tennant as the iconic Time Lord. Doctor Who is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, and for everyone who's watched the show, they'll have their favourite Doctor. With me personally, it would be David Tennant, because him and Christopher Eccleston were there throughout my childhood, and I really just enjoyed his stint as that role, especially with him and Rose Tyler. I have watched a handful of Matt Smith episodes, as well as a few Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker ones, but those ones I have seen the fan base say that the writing was not so great for many of the episodes, so now we do have Russell T Davies back at the helm. From 2005 to 2010, Russell T Davies revived Doctor Who to make it one of the most popular sci-fi shows of that time. And with the recent collaboration of the BBC and Disney, the ambition is to make Doctor Who a strong global franchise. And so for new episodes, they're released as normal on the BBC in the UK and Ireland, but in the rest of the world, you can find them on Disney Plus at the same time. With all that being taken into account, that's why they've brought back some trusted hands to help kickstart this new era. After playing the 10th Doctor, David Tennant is now playing the 14th Doctor for 3 special episodes. Once these episodes have concluded, we'll then move on to the 15th Doctor, who will be played by Sex Education's Ncuti Gatwa. So let's talk about the first episode, which was titled The Star Beast. We start off with the Doctor and Catherine Tate's Donna Noble giving us a recap of what's happened before, which is basically just there for those new viewers who have no idea what's going on. We then get the new opening credits, which I think look pretty good, and obviously the theme is fantastic, but what I've done here is a little bit too much, I think, especially in the end credits when the music plays. Like, there's some heavy breathing going on and it all sounds like they've gone a bit too overboard, but yeah, mostly in the end credits is where the issue lies. The episode wastes no time to get into things, as we see the Doctor arrive in Camden, which I thought was a refreshing location, as we see him straight away run into Donna Noble. We also get introduced to Donna's daughter Rose, as well as a spaceship crashing down onto Earth. The Doctor then has a ride in a cab, which is driven by Donna's husband, Sean Temple. During this, he finds out that Donna gave away all of her lottery money to charity. With the Doctor now at the scene of the crash, we find out that the spaceship did not in fact crash at all, and it actually parked there, as he speaks to Shirley Ann Bingham, who is scientific advisor number 56 at UNIT, UNIT being like this universe's shield. Over to Donna's house now, and we see Donna speak to Rose and show her protection over her in terms of anyone trying to bully her, and we get a good conversation between Donna and her mum Sylvia here, because Sylvia's saying how she can be a bit clumsy about the situation about Rose being trans. And I think that this is a really natural sort of conversation to have, where you have someone from the older generation not so sure exactly how to go about things. And I think this compared to what we get later was much more natural dialogue. Also in this scene, we see Sylvia being very cautious about speaking about spaceships and all that sort of thing, because if Donna remembers her past life with the Doctor and all of her ventures, she will die. And I think here we really get to see Catherine Tate's ability to play this character when she's speaking about what she might have lost. We then go outside and see Rose with this character called Fudge, who lets her know about this escape pod which has landed not so far away. They go to see the pod, and then as she returns to the bins, there we see the Meep. For those who don't know, the Meep is voiced by Miriam Margolyes, and she's got a great voice for this sort of character, and you can tell she's having a lot of fun with the role, especially later on in the episode. Back over to the ship, we have some unit soldiers who want to investigate it. It's up some stairs, so Shirley has to stay behind, but that is fortunate for her, because up there they all get sort of zapped around by this force and get possessed. We then go back over to Rose, and she's with the Meep in the shed, and the Meep's going through her toys, and this whole situation is very reminiscent of E.T. Donna comes into the shed and she thinks the Meep is like a well-made toy, but when it blinks, it reveals itself to be an alien. Sylvia doesn't want Donna to look at it, and then sees the Doctor at the door and goes on a bit of a warpath to make sure he does not get in. Through the letterbox, the Doctor says that the Meep is cute, but what are your thoughts on the Meep's design? I think this is my reaction.
It's a monster! Kill it! Kill it!
The Doctor eventually gets into the house thanks to the sonic screwdriver, and then Sean comes home to see the chaos and says that something smells nice, and Sylvia says tuna madras. And tuna madras sounds pretty good. I think I might have a bit of that myself one day.
Get in my belly!
Once things are settled down, the Doctor asks about Wilf, who is Donna's granddad. He's in accommodation, and we will see him one more time in Doctor Who, because Bernard Cribbins unfortunately did pass away last year, but he did film those scenes before he died. Next, we get one of the most talked about scenes from the episode, and that's where the Doctor says him in regards to the Meep, and then we see Rose challenge the Doctor on assuming these pronouns. Now, my first thoughts are that this line from the Doctor did feel forced, because usually the Doctor would just refer to these creatures as their name, like the Meep. You wouldn't even use any pronouns anyway, so it just sort of forced that line in there to get this reaction from Rose. Secondly, I don't think they had to go for such a challenging tone here, and instead they could have been a bit more natural with the dialogue by having Rose say something like, "Hold on, what makes you so sure the Meep is a him anyway?" And then she can direct to the Meep, "How do you identify?" Actually get her interacting with the Meep as well. That way, it's more of a team effort, and we can actually see a bond grow between these two characters instead of having a bit of tension. And then when the Meep responds, we can see that the Doctor was wrong in his judgment, but it's much more in a subtle way. But as we learn later, Russell T Davies is not very subtle. We then get a big action scene with explosions where we have the Worf trying to get to the Meep, as well as the soldiers who are possessed. We also have the Doctor use a sonic screwdriver to make some shields so they can get upstairs, and I'm not sure if this ability is a new one, but it's new to me anyway. The group go upstairs and into the loft, and they have to go through 5 different lofts and downstairs to get to the cab. Once they get into this car park, the Doctor pulls out a barrister's wig, and we get this whole court is now in session bit, which also references back to Tom Baker episode. Now, I think this is the first scene where new viewers will really be able to understand the silliness of Doctor Who and how it sets it apart from other sci-fi shows. Next, we see the big switch of the episode where we see the Meep's true colours, and that the Meep is in fact evil, and the Meep kills the 2 Worf soldiers. The Meep then revels in the fact that they believed a lie and calls Donna a stupid woman with a weird child. The Meep is about to kill Donna, but the Doctor comes to the rescue and says that if the Meep kills him and the others, then the Meep won't know whether him being there is all part of a Worf strategy. While in the back of the truck, Donna reveals the reason she gave away the lottery money, and that's because she believed it would be something he would do, referencing the Doctor for the first time. Next, we see this evil Furby come out with all the army, and they're all hailing the Meep. We then get one of the worst line deliveries in the whole episode from Rose here.
The whole of London town burnt as fuel.
But that's 9 million people.
The group of them then go up a lift, and they are saved at the top by Shirley, who has weapons in her wheelchair. She's even got rockets in there, and she blows away to help the Doctor get through. Donna then locks behind her family and says that she has to go and help the Doctor, with this being the first time she's mentioned him by name. So yeah, the Doctor and Donna are ready now to save the day. We then see the damage which happens to London, where we see the land split apart. This does though conveniently come back together when everything turns out okay. We then get the Doctor repeat the words which Donna said to him before she lost her memory, including binary, 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 which then turns into non-binary when we realise that Rose, as an offspring of Donna, has the energy transferred into her as well, and that's why Donna doesn't die, because she has released some of that load. This goes on further where we realise the shed is the memory of the TARDIS, and the toys are actually of the creatures which Donna and the Doctor battled in the past. I think this is all quite silly, but it has that Doctor Who silliness about it where you can accept it. The Doctor, Donna and Rose stop the launch, but the Meep is still in the ship. However, the Doctor flicks a switch and then sends the Meep flying into the sky and parachuting down. The Meep gets arrested for 10,000 years and taken away by the Worf, but before the Meep goes, they say something about telling the boss about him being a creature with 2 hearts. So who is the boss? I don't know. Do you know? The Doctor then says about the meta crisis to Donna and Rose and about letting go of the energy. They say they already know everything. It's a shame that he's not a woman anymore. And they also say that it's something which a male presenting Time Lord wouldn't understand. Now, I've seen quite a few comments on this episode, some who like the episode, some who don't, but what comes up pretty much every single time is this scene here, and I just say that it's incredibly forced and just not necessary. Again, it's not necessary why they're having to go at the Doctor here. I don't understand. It just seems so forced from a writing point of view to get this in the show. It's more so that, the story serving the writer instead of the writer serving the story. Donna says she'll have one last trip with the Doctor, and then we see the new inside of the TARDIS. And my initial impression to it is that I wished it was a little bit more rougher around the edges. It looks a little bit too clean. And they reveal in the commentary of the episode that each light is separately controlled, and so words could appear within the lights, which could be really interesting, especially if someone's trying to send a message to the Doctor. Donna spills her coffee on the TARDIS and it goes up in flames, and then it goes somewhere which we'll find out where next episode. And that brings us to the end of the episode, which I thought was okay. Nothing amazing, but nothing completely crap. I think, like I said, those scenes which I pointed out, it's annoying we're having to speak about those scenes. I do wish we could speak more about the actual story. Instead, it's these scenes which are dominating headlines and dominating discussions on social media. Ultimately, I think Russell T Davies was too heavy-handed here, and those scenes weren't really necessary for the episode. I think he did well when it comes to scenes where we have Donna and Sylvia talking, for example, and there are other moments as well in the episode which are much more natural, but these ones stick out so much and it is so forced, and that's where it does pull you out of the moment. And it's like, you can have this in there, but you just have to do it in a much cleverer and more strategic way. In terms of the character of Rose, I would have liked to have seen a bit more of her character come through, because they did focus so heavily on her identity instead of her personality. I'm not totally sure yet on the acting ability of Yasmin Finney, who plays Rose. I will have to see more before I have a full judgment, but I'm not completely convinced yet. What I am convinced on though is David Tennant being a great Doctor, and I am really looking forward to see him and Donna again together on an adventure in next week's episode. When it comes to the story revolving around the Meep and the Worf and their battle, that was all very Doctor Who and what I like to see, and this story has been in the Doctor Who comics before, and as you can see on screen, I think they did a good job of getting that character Beep the Meep into live action. I did also watch the commentary of the episode, and I just about got through it because the bloke there, he was just going off, like this producer, he was like, oh, I love this, I love that, that's epic, that's amazing. It's like, oh, okay, oh, just calm down. So yeah, forgetting the unnecessary pandering, I think this was an okay episode, and I am still looking forward to see what the next episode brings us. But what are your thoughts on this episode and the key talking points within it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to watch another video, on screen is a review for The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.